Is Bitcoin under attack? Not from governments, not from Wall Street, but from inside the house. Core version 30 wants to strip out the guardrails and turn your node into a spam sponge. Knots? They're saying, nah fam, we filter this garbage. Welcome to the Spam Wars. Today we'll hear from Samson Mao, Jimmy Song, Jeff Booth, and Rockstar Dev. So you better strap in, because well, Bitcoin isn't dying, it's flexing its immune system and growing stronger. Now, before we get started, let me be clear.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
But we're gonna give it hell anyway. And here's the deal. Core is the reference client, the one most people run. Knots is Core forked with stricter relay policies. An important distinction is policy is not consensus. Consensus is what makes a block valid. Policy is what your node relays by default. And Core v30 lifts the opt return guardrail from 83 bytes to 100,000. What the hell? That's not a bug fix, that's opening the JPEG floodgates. And CEO of Jan3, Samson Mao, says blind loyalty to Core is dangerous. Listen to this.
And also, it's becoming more apparent during this whole discourse that people are not willing to migrate too, even if there is suspicion of some level of it being compromised. There's like blind loyalty to Bitcoin Core, which is kind of dividing the whole Bitcoin user base or community, whatever you want to call that, into different factions right now.
Yeah, well, there was a lot to sort of unpack there, but what does it mean to kind of work on Bitcoin Core or be a core contributor? How do you interpret that?
Well, it's a wide range of things, because there are people that work on the software itself, that are working on cryptographic libraries, even people that are contributing to localization or bug fixing, QA testing, code review. They're all kind of batched into people working on Core or being viewed as developing Core. Even if you're just submitting ideas to the mailing list, I think it's kind of a broad term. You can kind of envelop all of that in the term like Bitcoin developer.
So what does it mean to, if you work at, say, a not-for-profit that hires you, or you've gotten a grant to work on a certain project, or you have worked on Core? I mean, are they all equal to each other? Aren't people who are philosophically pontificating on what Core should be also working on Core? Someone who hasn't contributed to Core yet or hasn't had anything codified, it could be working on Core. But they might not get the same voice as someone who's either already contributed or is sort of hired, whether it's permanently or sort of contractually on a short-term basis.
Well, you have all of that in the mix. And I think that's kind of one of the drivers of the issue, which is how do you determine whose opinions are valid? So if you go back in time to the origin of the whole shifting away from Core, it was over opt return. And the fact that they were blocking people or banning them from GitHub because they were saying we're being brigaded. And they blocked Luke at some point, Mechanic at some point. And there's a lot of dismissal about people's feedback. And they're saying we want discussion, but then they don't really want discussion. And it's more like it's already decided. And that kind of brings us down the rabbit hole to another level, which is, are developers working at companies kind of in an echo chamber of their own and sort of pre-deciding what changes are good and what changes should make it in, and then kind of going through the motions of discussing in public. Because there's a lot of weird stuff that happened back then. Like they locked the thread and unlocked it so that someone could hack it, and then locked it again to kind of manufacture consent or agreement. But there was just a lot of stuff like that, and it's never apparent who was responsible for these kind of antics, and if anything was done about it. It's just kind of like things happen, and nobody's really responsible, and then things continue to happen. So this is why I believe there's sort of a shattering in trust of core developers, and it's understandable that you see a lot of conspiracy theories come up. And it's not really helped either by how a lot of the core developers are behaving. Now, I'm not saying like the not side are angels, but there are people doing and saying bad things on both sides that I think should be de-escalated and toned down because it's not helpful. But definitely, I would say it's instigated on the core developer side when you go back in time and you look at the origin of the whole schism.
Core devs waving off users as not smart enough isn't what we would call stewardship. It's hubris. And hubris destroys empires, and empires kind of like a network, and networks. All right, now let's check out what Jimmy Song and Parker Lewis had to say.
What I am concerned about is the process, which currently is, hey, we're the developers, and we're going to, even though there's a whole bunch of people in the community that don't like this change, we're going to go ahead with it anyway. And there have been several sort of like justifications for that. It's like kind of talking out of both sides of their mouth. And that's to me like a very fiat political tactic of, hey, if you don't like it, then don't do it, but not like that, right? Like it's just kind of closing off all doors because we're the technical experts. So I don't like the tactics that are being used to do that. And I don't like that they basically push this change through more or less forcefully without really listening to community feedback, which suggests to me that this may happen again. Like, it's like one of the things about a lot of coders is that they're not entirely socially aware, and they think they're hiding their motivations when it's like crystal clear to everybody. Like they're forcing this change, right? Like they think they're in the right, and they think they know better than everybody else. And they are basically making it so that it's going in whether you like it or not. And like that kind of attitude is just like completely against the ethos of Bitcoin, right? Like it's supposed to be a community project. It's a consensus system. You're supposed to listen to other people and stuff. And instead, what we're getting is, oh, everyone that disagrees is like just an influencer or whatever. The attitude is one that inevitably leads to some form of authoritarianism, and I think it might show up in a contentious software.
Forcing protocol changes without real consensus turns Bitcoin development into fiat-style politics. The attitude is one that inevitably leads to some form of authoritarianism. If you want fast-moving experiments, go be an ETH head. I don't know if I can say it on here, but you know what I meant. Bitcoin is the settlement layer for human freedom, not some JPEG testnet. And here's the part that Core didn't expect. Knots is catching fire.
Where are we in this process with Core V30? When is that set to be released, and what do you put the odds of it getting released at?
Well, it's definitely going to be a release, right? They just released 29.1, but it doesn't seem like the core developers are going to accommodate what the users want. They're going to just move ahead with what they want to do, which is within their right. And I think it's also within the right of people to run Knots or another implementation too. It is a free market. It's just disappointing that they're seeking not to consider what the users are doing. But I don't know when it's going to be released, but it'll come. And I think a lot of people will just not run it because of all these concerns with.
Is that the third path where people stay on 28 or 29.1 and never go to 30 and don't do an alternative client as well? And that's a bit of ossification?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't think I will upgrade. I'll stick on 29 because I don't see any need yet. But I don't think you can not upgrade forever because Bitcoin is software, and software needs to be patched for security reasons and updated. So there is talk about having a third implementation. I think there's sort of another faction that's not Core, not Knots, that wants to build a new client that is more battle tested, more secure, leading towards ossification or building more consensus before changes that are implemented. And I think that's probably going to happen because it is needed. Like, you can stick on 29 for a year or two, but you cannot stick on 29 for 5-10 years. Someone's got to stand up and do something and bring in security fixes from Core or from Knots or whatever. But someone has to do that.
I mean, if you look at this from sort of a more like a corporate perspective, which Core is not, Bitcoin's not a company, but if you think about like the near monopoly market share they had, and in a short period of time, let's say they lost 10 to 16% to knots alone. I mean, that's wouldn't people at the company be apocalyptic?
Well, I have my personal opinion. I think, I think, yeah, they should definitely be worried, and I think a lot of people that were behaving in a certain way should probably step down as a maintainer for how they're behaving, because you're not acting as a steward of the network. That's how Adam Back phrased it. Like core developers, I think, especially maintainers, are stewards of the network, and you cannot be a good steward if you just say like, we're going to make this change for this reason. And the reason is not even necessarily a good one. I think that's why people are up in arms, because they see the reasoning behind it as bad. But yeah, I mean, it is a massive shock that Knots has this much adoption.
Samson's right. This isn't fringe. There's many OGs and users with skin in the game biting their thumb at V30. You can't dismiss this as a, what is it, cyber attack? So let's cut the crap. This isn't about censorship, this is about guardrails. You don't remove traffic lights because people can run them anyway. The f***? You keep the lights because without them, society breaks down. And Knots is saying we will not subsidize your stupid spam. And Core's saying, well, let it all in, fees will sort it out. Well, what happens when miners have perverse incentives? What happens when Wall Street-backed pools start monetizing junk data? That's not Bitcoin. That's a DOS attack with a fee attached. All right, let's pump the brakes real quick. If all this Core versus Knots drama has you wondering, what can you do to protect yourself? Here's the answer: sovereignty.
But let's zoom out. This isn't just about bytes and filters. This is about a major hurdle in humanity's fight for financial sovereignty: the separation of money and state. Think about it. For thousands of years, money has been controlled by kings, governments, bank entities that print it endlessly, devalue it through inflation, and use it to surveil and control people. Wars are funded by fiat money printers. Corruption thrives because a few elites hold the levers of power. Bitcoin changes that. It's hard money, fixed supply of 21 million. No one can inflate it. And crucially, in self-custody, meaning you hold your own keys, Bitcoin strips the power from any living soul. No government can seize it without your consent. No bank can freeze it. No central authority can debase it. Bitcoin in self-custody is the antidote to the world's money and corruption problems. It empowers individuals, levels the playing field, and forces governments to compete on merit rather than coercion. But that's exactly why it's under attack. We are up against an extremely evil, vicious enemy that will stop at nothing to remain in power. Who is this enemy? Obviously, it's the state apparatus, the central bankers, the fiat overlords who've built empires on endless debt and money printing. They see Bitcoin as an existential threat because it decentralizes power. If everyone self-custodies Bitcoin, governments lose their monopoly on money immediately. No more funding endless wars with printed cash. No more bailing out cronies. No more surveillance through banks. These enemies are cunning. They won't attack Bitcoin head-on. That's too obvious. Instead, they poke holes, find excuses, and exploit weaknesses. They'll regulate exchanges to create choke points. They'll spread FUD about energy use or crime, and now they're infiltrating the protocol itself through subtle changes that undermine its purity as money. Look at this Core versus Knots situation. By removing limits on data, Core opens the door for Bitcoin to become a bloated database for NFTs, token, and yes, potentially illegal content. Governments love that. They can point to CSAM on the blockchain and say, see, Bitcoin harbors criminals. We need to regulate it. Ban self-custody or force filters that we control. It's the perfect excuse to attack. And who's enabling this? Some in the community, sellouts who believe the lies or chase short-term gains.
Tony is an animal. We love him over here. Run your own node, control your own keys, build redundancy so you can sleep at night. That's exactly what the Bitcoin way does. They literally walk you through multi-sig, cold storage, setting up wallets, inheritance planning, and privacy setups so you're not left guessing. Go to thebitcoinway.com and schedule your free 30-minute consultation and take back control. The link's in the description. Oh, and if you need cash but don't want to sell your Bitcoin, Ledn is the global leader in Bitcoin-backed loans, issuing over $9 billion in loans since 2018, and they were the first to offer proof of reserves. With Ledn, you get custody loans, no credit checks, no monthly payments, and more. Visit learn.ledn.io/simply to learn more and get 25 basis points off your first loan. All right, big finish and Jeff Booth time. But first, look at our likes.
3 or 4 times, maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
All right, Leroy Jenkins time. Some of you might be scared. We got life savings in this thing. But listen to Jeff Booth.
I haven't weighed into this discussion very much, so I will now. I have been running knots. I haven't. I won't upgrade to the new version. Or sorry, I have been running core. I won't upgrade, and I'm going to run knots. And so, I think they're on the right side of this. But it's also, I'm not as vitriol against core and everything else as many people are. I think it would be easy to make a whole bunch of mistakes. To trust 20, 30, 80 people to know everything we're talking about Bitcoin would be ludicrous. In fact, a lot of the threat model to Bitcoin used to be, what if core was compromised? And if you just ran what would naturally happen from a centralized system that was getting stronger and stronger through our actions, you'd expect core to get compromised at some point. And I've always said, well, it doesn't matter, because you would just split it off because it can't be stopped. And so what Luke and Bitcoin Mechanic and others really just showed is they made Bitcoin stronger and more and ossified more by providing choice. Like when core came in with heavy-handed, here's the way we're doing it. Another thing was created, and the market spoke. Yeah. And that's why I think we're at 16.6% knots today and growing. So it's telling you something. It's telling you that this can't be. No one can say this is what you have to do. The more you do that, this is what you have to do, the more you're going to drive people to make sure this is decentralized and secure, because those risks are too great. So what I would say is there's too many people who care, right? There's too many people who care about this, who are not going to bury their head in the sand and say, I'm going to accept those risks.
No. Do you see? This is the immune system working. Attacks, debates on policy, and consensus. They all make Bitcoin stronger. Always have, always will. Bitcoin survives. Don't panic. Listen to Uncle Rockstar and Giacomo. And please, for the love of God, don't let Bitcoin derangement syndrome turn you into Roger Ver. Stay humble. Run your node. Verify your transactions. And don't outsource sovereignty. So where do we land? Core wants openness and inclusion. Knot says Bitcoin is money, period. Samson says decentralization means choice. Booth says chaos is strength. And Rockstar says breathe. Bitcoin survives regardless. That's not division, that's resilience. Bitcoin is showing you what no other asset on earth can. A living immune system. Run knots, run core pre-30, run your own damn node. But don't ever give blind trust to anyone. Bitcoin belongs to you. And don't forget, Mining Disrupt 2025 is coming in hot. See the future of Bitcoin mining up close in Dallas, Texas, November 11th through the 13th. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have some fun debates at this one, and the biggest names in the industry, cutting edge rigs, Bitcoin and AI integration. The signal you won't get anywhere else. Grab your tickets today and use promo code SimplyBitcoin for 20% off. And we'll see you at the news desk. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a stronger Bitcoin. So smash that like, subscribe, give us a pat. Run your node, self-custody your Bitcoin, and tell your friends the spam wars are here and we're not backing down. Hey, I love you guys. Catch you tomorrow. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.